There's a new controversy about young dancers at clubs in the French Quarter of New Orleans. And the question is, should the minimum age of strippers, dancers, should it be raised from 18 to 21? Hi, I'm Scoot, and welcome to another episode of Scoot on the Air here on our YouTube channel. Glad you're with us. We're at a great spot. You know, we do these shows from restaurants in the French Quarter and around New Orleans. We're at Oceana Grill, and this is really a wonderful place to eat. In fact, we've got some food on the way, and we'll share some of that with you as well. I've got a great guest. Her name is Sable, and we're just going to have a conversation about raising the stripping age from 18 to 21. And here in New Orleans, there were raids that went on. There was this big push to shut down some clubs, but not all the clubs were affected, which bothers me because it seems like some were protected because, I don't know, maybe they were the favorites of some politicians. I don't know. Sable, welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you, Scoot. Yeah. Good to be here.
Okay, so this whole recent push to raise the stripping age and then the raids on the clubs, this was all in the name of cutting down on sex trafficking.
That's what they say. They say sex trafficking. They also say it cuts down on crime. But there's actually studies that have been done, like third-party studies, and that doesn't actually. There's no correlation between strip clubs and sex trafficking whatsoever. Well,
see, but and this is what I can't understand. In the studying that I've done about sex trafficking, raising the stripping age, the age of dancers from 18 to 21. How does that cut down on sex trafficking if the average age of sex trafficking is 12 to 14?
What it does is it already vulnerable 18 to 21-year-old women that might find themselves in worse situations, they tend to end up being trafficked by not having actual viable income. So basically they end up being in a more vulnerable position.
But the victims in sex trafficking, they don't come from strip clubs. They come from being homeless. They come from, they're runaways.
Absolutely.
They are addicted to drugs, or they have no money, and this is their only. But they don't. I mean, it almost the whole political push made it seem like strip clubs are some kind of a farm team for sex trafficking.
No, and all the women that work in strip clubs are of legal age, 18. They have to have driver's license. They have to have a social security card to work. Actually, every club I've ever worked at in New Orleans has absolutely required a social security card to work. So those women wouldn't have come from a trafficked situation to begin with, because they're all legal of age women to work, and no one's like coercing them to work either.
Yeah, and don't misunderstand, sex trafficking is a big deal. I'm all for cutting down on sex trafficking, but I don't like it when politicians focus on the wrong thing. And they focus on something that makes it seem to the public as if they're really doing something about the problem, and they're not. And if the average age of a person in sex trafficking is 12 to 14, then how does raising the age from 18 to 21 do anything about that? So, you know, I do want to take sex trafficking seriously, and I want to give out the number for sex trafficking. This is the National Human Trafficking Hotline number. 1-888. We're going to put it up for you too. 1-888-373-7888. And also, you can go to the website humantrafficking.org. So while I understand that this is a serious problem, let's focus on the real problem, and the real problem is not strippers. There's also, first of all, you know, I guess it's so pedestrian to refer to you as strippers. Is that offensive?
I mean, I don't mind so much. I also like exotic dancer.
Okay.
Usually just dancers, what most girls like to be called.
Yeah. You know, this is...
Or entertainer. Girls like entertainers as well. Some clubs call us independent contractors, or those call us independent, or what is the one? Independent performing entertainer. Independent performing entertainers. That's like the long in our contract. Sometimes it'll say, but yeah, usually just dancers.
Sable, there's a great misunderstanding of people like you and what you do, and it seems like there's this impression that all exotic dancers are people who were abused by their fathers, they've got daddy issues, they were sexually abused, or they're drug addicts. And that simply is not true.
No, they like really underestimate the dynamic like abilities and education levels and just overall lifestyles of dancers. They're, they also misunderstand they don't understand what a dancer might even look like. When I meet people, they'll say, "Oh, you don't look like a dancer," and I'm like, "Why?" Because I don't have huge boobs and like a rhinestone necklace on right now. Like I don't know, or just in casual settings, family friends of family members will like want to ask you a million questions because they're pseudo curious, but they also can kind of become kind of venomous in their questioning because they just don't understand the industry whatsoever, or they have already made up their mind what they think that it is that you do. Or like some girls obviously can't come up to their family. They're like, because my family won't understand. They think that I work in like a crack den, but really they work at like Penthouse, and Penthouse is like
Rick's.
Rick's. There's also clubs that aren't as nice necessarily, or more corporate clubs. And those clubs are absolutely fine. There's divey clubs that I worked at that I had a great time in and felt completely safe, great management. But there's so many levels to it and so many layers. But people have one fixture in their head, and it's like I don't know, the Sopranos strip club where the girls are getting murdered and stuff.
Let's take it. We've got some delicious raw oysters here
All right,
from
let's do
Oceana
it.
Grill. So let's get into it.
So come on, can we sing a little louder? My body's shaking and my feet are getting lighter. Yeah, give me that.
These oysters are delicious. I mean, Oceana Grill's it's a must place to go in the French Quarter of New Orleans. It's at 739 Conti. Yeah, 739 Conti. It's basically the corner of Bourbon Street and Conti, and they've got so many great dishes, and the service here is unbelievable. I hear that eating a lot of oysters, there's that rumor about oysters.
Aphrodisiac.
I thought it just made you interview longer.
Interview longer. Just never stop talking.
Yeah, you just can't stop.
Never.
You get the protein of these oysters, and I'm telling you, man, it's a non-stop interview.
Yeah.
You're not stopping. In fact, sometimes even when you're finished, you want to do it again.
It's all the zinc. They prevent colds.
Well, that's good to know. Just another reason to eat raw oysters. Sable, so from your perspective of being an exotic dancer,
Okay.
tell me what your image of men is.
I personally have a great image of men. I have great father figures in my life. I have a great dad, great stepdad, great overall good male energy. I've had some not so great boyfriends, but some amazing ones. But overall, I feel like most human species has the good and the bad anyway. So I don't have like a particular I hate men are trash idea or anything. I just have I don't know. I like interacting with everyone, so I like people in general.
So that's an interesting part of being an exotic dancer. It's not that you're just, you're more than just doing this erotic dance. You, in some ways, you actually end up being a therapist for some men.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely have people like that start out kind of being abrasive and kind of sexual, and then you end up just like they end up wanting you to just cuddle them and talk to them all night. Or some people just like come in and they just want to talk and have fun, like just party, just literally just drink just want a drinking buddy. Other people will just say they want to get a champagne room so they could watch television and watch the football game by themselves and not talk to anyone.
I've
So
heard,
there's like different levels of needs.
I've heard stories that a man will pay $1,000 and all he wants is to be hugged by a woman. He wants to lie down and be hugged by a woman.
That's not uncommon at all.
Really? So are men, are their lives so deprived when it comes to this kind of attention that they'll pay for that?
I think there's definitely that aspect. I think that men are more deprived of human and connection than women are, because it's kind of frowned upon in American society, particularly. Like other cultures, men hug men more. Men hug other women more. It's more kind of just more friendly. And American culture is much more distant, like give me my space, like macho type thing.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about your organization, BARE, B-A-R-E, which is an acronym for Bourbon Alliance of Responsible Entertainers.
Yep.
And you put on a big protest. By the way, I was part of that protest in the French Quarter. I was back
We're
there.
in photos together.
I was back there. We've been photographed together.
Yes.
You were part of that big. It was a big protest when the city launched this attack on certain strip clubs in the quarter.
The city definitely launched the attack on certain strip clubs, focusing more on the smaller rundown ones, but I think there might be a tax motivation. Don't necessarily quote me on that. I think there's a previous tax issue with certain clubs that were owned by a guy. His name's Guy. But I think there's underlying issues with the clubs. But yeah, the seedier clubs definitely got the brunt of it. But also, I mean, Rick's Saloon got the brunt of it too, and that was actually a nicer club as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think what they were originally proposing was a cap on ALPVs, which is ALPV, adult live performance venue, and the city was proposing a cap due to attrition. But then they run these raids. The first raids were Operation Trick or Treat, and those happened a couple years ago during Halloween, and I was there for that. The business was immediately affected by that. The culture fear kind of started running through all the clubs. Management started cracking down, not just necessarily on like bad behavior by entertainers and staff, but they just overall just started micromanaging people that were used to being autonomous, and that kind of had a negative effect as well.
Do you think there's a sense?
So it had like an overall cumulative, like just all-encompassing effect on every person that worked in the industry.
Do you think there's any sense of a new moral movement in this country? I don't think it compares to the 80s when Ronald Reagan was reelected, when the moral right was really involved.
I think the moral movement is, I don't know necessarily there's more of them. I think they're just really adamant. Whereas the people that are more laissez or more, I don't know, use the word liberal necessarily, but more like, laissez about people doing about their business and doing whatever they want, they're not necessarily going to go out and just like fight for things unless their like rights are being impeded upon. Right. So, yeah, I don't necessarily think there's like a little bit of a moral minority that's just trying to like just take over and speak for everyone and write legislature for everyone and take away people's right to have fun and have freedom and like drink or do whatever it is that they want. And then it's kind of killing the spirit of New Orleans, or the city, and just like certain aspects of this country too. It's like puritanical.
I mean, what you do goes way back. I mean, it goes back to ancient Greece. It goes back to really more. I think it more started in Eastern culture than in Western culture. But this is an old exotic dancing is an old profession.
Yeah.
Have you ever danced for somebody and they really thought you were gonna go home with them?
Oh, sometimes they think that. Yeah. I don't know. I try to not let them think that. I try to be like pretty cut and dry, because I don't necessarily want that to come back and bite me, because when you're a little too vague with customers, even if you're like a waitress or bartender and you flirt too much or anything and you lead someone on too long, they tend to not respect your boundaries as much.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely that aspect.
So I want to get back to the effort to raise the stripping age from 18 to 21.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessary. I think if you can fight for our country at 18, I think you can make a decision to be an exotic dancer. I also think it's interesting that
I started at 19 personally, in Tampa.
The Louisiana legislature passed a bill raising the age, but a federal appeals court said no, you can't enforce
Right,
it.
and they're going back and forth with it right now, right? I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure exactly where it stands right now currently, but I think the federal appeals court is the last word right now, right?
As far as I know, I know, it's still, the federal appeals court decision has now said that Louisiana still cannot enforce the raising the age from 18 to 21, and this is based on basically one's freedom over their body.
Right. Well, I mean, they don't really. They kind of tend to infantilize dancers anyway. So they call us girls, or say that we're not old enough to make our own decisions, But I mean, you know, you can have a baby at 16. You graduate. Yeah, fight for your country at 18. I mean, you should be able to dance and get money if you need to.
So do you
provide for your family or for yourself?
Do you have any regrets about being in the business? I mean, you started when you're 19.
I don't. No, I like it. So
Now, it's something you won't do the rest of your life, but you can do this for a very long time.
I can technically, probably do it for another 10 years. I'm writing screenplays. I'm going back to school for business right now. I have a lot on the table. So
see, that's another thing that a lot of
a lot of girls do everything.
I know. I've met dancers that, I mean, some have like real estate companies and some have like businesses, and this is what they do because they can.
Yeah, I think one of the top pole champions in the world right now. I think she has 2 master's degrees, and a lot of dancers have do other advocacy work and are activists. A lot of them just have families, and that's okay too. I think that you also don't have to be super stripper, do everything. You could just be like, hey, I exist. I make my money. I provide for myself. I'm independent. I don't have to. It's one of the few jobs that's actually lucrative and pays above minimum wage. It's a living wage.
I had somebody tell me recently, and she's young and new in the business, and she graduated from one of the top public high schools in New Orleans, a high school where you have to have a high IQ to get into the high school.
Right.
And so when she mentioned to one of her friends that she is a stripper, a dancer, her friend said, "Well, I mean, you're so smart. Why do you want to be a dancer?" She says, "I want to be a dancer
Maybe
because I'm smart.
Yeah.
Because I am smart, and
Yeah.
it makes sense."
Maybe some people just like it. People underestimate that. I was on stage at Penthouse, and people were tipping me. I'm making money. I'm doing great stage sets. I'm going wonderfully. Some guy walks up to me, and he's like, he has some money in his hand, and he's like, "I just want to ask you one question. Why do you do this? You're so beautiful." And I was like, "'Cause I make people happy." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then he just threw money at me and walked out.
Wow.
So I mean, those
go ahead. You want to take
those
these?
instances happen.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Thank you.
We're gonna relax here for just a minute, but when we come back, I want to talk about. We're gonna get some food here.
Okay.
I want to talk about psyching yourself to do what you do, because obviously you have to be a bit of an exhibitionist.
Okay. Well, when we come back, I'll tell you my opinion on that. Okay.
Who wants that rock and roll lifestyle? Not a soul, except for just one. Just that one screaming out, yeah. Give me that.
Mine was delicious. Is it good?
Oh, it's absolutely phenomenal. Thank you.
I think we've got a dessert coming in a few minutes. We'll wrap up with the dessert. Okay, so Sable, tell me about how you psych yourself to do what it is that you do. Oh wait, one more time. Wait, hang on. Because Kelsey, who's behind the camera over there, she's hungry. She's starving, and she hasn't been able to eat. So here.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, now you can take it. We are at Oceana Grill, and I want to thank Oceana Grill, in particular Mo and Eli and Ramsey and Derek, our waiter. The food here is awesome. Look, they even have vegetarian delights. I had this I had a Greek salad with blackened shrimp, and you had redfish.
The etouffee.
Redfish etouffee. Look, if you come to New Orleans,
It was beautiful.
come to Oceana Grill, because the food is really, I mean, it's delicious. It's good. Look, I'm from here, and I can tell you it's good New Orleans food. And then, of course, they have the drink menu. They've got exotic drinks, like the Oceana Teeny, but they also have a classic martini. Bahama Mama. You can get a regular hurricane or a frozen hurricane. Yeah, they got it all here. And they even have shots. Yeah, they'll give you a shot. Sable, tell me about what it takes to get psyched up to do what you do. Because I mean, you have to be somewhat of an exhibitionist.
So you say I have to be an exhibitionist, but I personally am quite exhibitionistic, But a lot of girls are more like private and they're a lot more shy and they kind of have to work up into it and they don't necessarily like, baring their bodies or anything like that. And they kind of have to, practice getting comfortable with that. So they might not naturally be oriented that way. But, some girls are. It does take a talent to perform and actually bare yourself to everyone and be confident. Not everyone is, but, there's different levels of it, and not everyone's that all the time. You have highs, lows in between.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some days that you're not in the mood to do what you do.
I think that was with every job.
Of course.
Yeah. I think that. Yeah, there's definitely those days.
It would be hard.
It's definitely harder because you have to spend an hour doing your hair and makeup, or maybe some girls take longer, shorter, whatever. Some girls do like podcasts, meditations, candles lighting, showers, exfoliation, every level of everything.
Really?
They have like a whole mind prep thing. Some girls just show up and just do it. So everyone has their own like little process that works for them, depending on their like mental state, I guess, or their own personal preferences.
All right, so it's YouTube, so we can talk. What's the weirdest thing somebody ever asked you to do?
So I'm going to tell you.
You don't have to be too graphic. But
I'm not going to be graphic.
Yeah, tell us. What's the weirdest thing a guy asked you to do?
Well, he wanted to wear our lingerie.
He wanted to wear what?
Our lingerie.
He wanted to wear your lingerie.
Yeah, so we went to our lockers and got lingerie for him.
Really?
Yeah, and then he wanted us to walk him around with my belt as a leash.
Huh.
And put lipstick on him and tell him he was a pretty girl. So that was a fun night. Actually, we made a lot of money and it was great.
I was going to ask you, does that cost extra?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
guys,
that was a good night.
So remember that. If you want to wear the laundry and if you want to be called a pretty girl, it's going to cost you.
It's a little bit extra.
Yeah. So you do table dances. What would it cost to get you to get up on the table and dance? I mean, you're not going to do it, but what would you charge me to get up on the table and dance here?
I wouldn't dance on this table. You can't pay me to dance on this table. That's not safe.
Well, I'm glad you're so concerned about the safety.
I'm very
of your
concerned
job.
for safety. I've had a broken ankle before.
Okay, what about the shoes? I mean, how hard is it to get around in those things?
Well, the shoes are actually platforms. Like say like you're wearing 7.5-inch shoes. They have the 7.5-inch heel, and then they'll have like a 5-inch platform. So your foot's kind of level. It's almost just kind of like walking on stilts, but you end up becoming very like comfortable in them, and you just get used to them. In New Orleans, it's a little weird because the buildings are so old. So in certain clubs, going up and down the stairs and stuff, there's like little dips and divots where you're gonna like trap, and you might fall into it. Your heel might fall into it. So like if there's some spaces on like the ground on the floor, you'll see like a girl just walking, and then boop, she kind of goes out for a second because she kind of went down because she hit a divot in the floor.
I like that you break the stereotype of dancers, and that's why I wanted to talk to somebody like you, because again, I think there's this great
Whoa, that's gorgeous.
Oh, man.
I was not prepared for this.
This looks more sinful than dancing in a club. Seriously. And think about this. We're talking about stripping, and both of us are sitting here drinking hot tea. We're real partiers. Cheers.
That's right. We're trying to stay.
Yeah. Cheers. All right. I guess we'll say goodbye. Listen. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Scoot on the Air, SOTA. I'm also on the air on WWL-AMFM.com. And if you're somewhere around the country, you can go to radio.com, download the app, and find WWL. I'm on in the afternoon, 1 to 4 New Orleans time. And it's politics and pop culture meeting your opinions. And, I do a daily YouTube show for a few minutes every day, dealing with the crazy of the top issues of the day. So again, you'll get a notice if you subscribe to Scoot on the Air, and also that's my address on Facebook, so you can get involved in that as well. But every once in a while, maybe once a week, we'll do an interview like this. But I'm on every Monday through Friday in the morning, and so I'll say goodbye. Thanks for being with us here on this episode of Scoot on the Air, and right now let's get into the real sin here. Sable, thanks very much for spending time with us.
Thank you, Scoot. All right, let's do this.